Hello, and good evening, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live here in the Holding Block with me, OC Ejiofor. Welcome. I hope you've all had a great week. This is a place, you are in the right place. You are in the right place if you want to kind of slow yourself down with your usual routine with your business and sharpen your business skills. If you want to get yourself some good information on how you can better yourself, it is always good to come here and join us every week in the Holding Block, where you'll pick up different skills to help you get yourself back on track. Just be that little bit sharper when it comes to the effectiveness that you have in your business. And tonight's show, we are in for a treat. We are going to be talking about the successful mindset. Now, we know that when it comes to everything that we do, it really does boil down to how we think about that task. Sometimes we can be super confident when it comes to the things that we're about to do. Sometimes we can be slightly apprehensive, and other times we can be absolutely terrified. And sometimes we could just be apathetic. Actually, we don't really feel like doing it. Sometimes the thing that you actually enjoy doing most times, maybe you just don't feel like it today. Well, how do you manage your own mindset? How do you actually motivate yourself? How do you see past the negative? How do you get your mind into the right place? Well, we're going to be talking about that tonight. We're going to be talking about the successful mindset, what that means, what it looks like, how you can go about developing that in yourself. And we're going to be talking to none other than Mr. Ryan Jackson. Now, Ryan Jackson is a serial entrepreneur. He is an author. He's got a book due to come out. In fact, he will talk a lot about what he has been through. But if you haven't heard of him, you are definitely in for a treat tonight. And if you want to get to know a little bit about what we have in store for us tonight, watch this clip and you'll learn a little bit more about Ryan.
Hey guys, Ryan Jackson here, the Success Rebellion, entrepreneur, author, and success mentor. And today marks a very special day indeed. Today is my first ever vlogging session. It's something that I've had in the pipeline for many months. Actually, I'm lying, it's been years. However, it's something that I've avoided just for the fact that I've been very conscious of speaking into a camera and actually getting it right. I put a lot of pressure on myself sometimes, but I just wanted to be able to rise above the noise, forget about the fears, the self-doubt, and just be able to share with you my journey, share with you my growth, to share with you my growth, and hopefully provide some inspiration to other entrepreneurs out there, individuals looking to start their own company, or just generally anybody who wants to establish a greater sense of success in their life. So this video is really just the introduction to who I am, what I'm about, and what the Success Rebellion represents. And so some of you may be asking, what's the Success Rebellion? What's this all about? What that is a rebel against convention. Yeah, a rebel against averageism, a rebel against the condition of how we believe we're supposed to live, as opposed to how we can live. And for me, my journey from where I started, from literally next to nothing, signing on at 18, no aspirations, no ambition, no drive, no hunger. So fast track a number of decades, well, only 2 because I'm only 38, but fast track to the now, and I'm in a completely different place. And so I've got a number of businesses turning over £1 million revenues. I've got properties across the world. I'm in the process of developing a wellness project in Southeast Asia.
Welcome, sir. I got caught out of there. I was so engrossed in that clip.
You okay?
I love it. You know, this is the great thing about live. I love it. Do you know, I started off doing it. My first live, if you watch in in my YouTube channel, my first lives, in fact, some of the ones that I did, first of all, they're not even on my YouTube channel. They're in my Facebook group, my private Facebook group, the Holding Block. If you haven't joined it, join it if you're watching this. But yeah, when I first started, just super nervous. Like everything is just, you're thinking,
It is pressure. Sometimes you overthink it as well, don't you?
This is it.
Yeah.
But I'm so relaxed. I'm playing the clip. I'm just like, yeah, what's going on?
That's a good place to be in, to be fair.
Yeah. It's good and bad. I dropped the ball today, so But yeah, welcome to the show, sir. It's good to see you. It's been a little while. I know you've spoken at some Edgeware education events in the past, shared your wisdom, and it's great to have you here in the Honing Block. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for welcoming me on the show. We had a conversation a number of weeks back, but nothing really manifested. So you reached out to me. So it's just amazing to be able to come on and share, obviously, my experiences with whoever's actually logged on today.
Yes, definitely. And shout out to everybody who's watching live. If you're watching live, drop where you're watching from in the comments. We'll give you a shout out as well. We love to shout out people who are viewing live. But yes, Mr. Ryan Jackson. Now, we saw a little clip just now of the Success Rebellion. That was the initial vlog post. But tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a serial entrepreneur, and how you came to have all those credentials. I mean, you said it briefly in terms of the fact that you were in a place where you were signed on, and there's a lot of people who knows how that feels. It's very difficult in life. You get to that place where you actually need help. And then to be where you are now, that's quite an incredible journey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got there?
Yeah, so as I said, and as you just mentioned, as in my late teens, I was a bum. I was literally just signing on, no real ambition, and the individuals around me were of a similar nature as well. And so, my aspiration was to get a council flat and a second-hand cooker and whatever else. And I didn't actually know a life beyond that. So, and I think with some of my friends and relatives as well, we was all in a similar position. And then I think I was just thrown a lifeline for my brother. He managed to organise a job for me at a leisure centre, or a health club, sorry, that he's working in within the city. So I went for the interview and I managed to secure the position. And it literally was a reception job. But I think just the environment, being around different people, having different conversations, and just immersing myself in a totally different world, just to open my eyes to possibilities. And I think the real transformation and the real turning point was when I started to read. And every day I used to go past this bookshop on the way to work, and I used to notice, and also I used to notice people on the train. And for whatever reason, I felt I gravitated towards it. And then I bought this one book, which really just made me realize that anyone can achieve success. Yeah, you can start from anywhere in life and become successful. But prior to that, I always thought that was success. You either had to be extremely lucky or you had to be born into it. I never fathomed the dawn of me that anyone can achieve it. And so from that, I just kickstarted my personal development journey. I then started reading Tony Robbins, and other personal development gurus. And then I suppose it just naturally evolved, cultivated my mindset through this reading, through different practices. And I guess there's a strong spiritual practice within that as well, that self-awareness and that spiritual awareness. And fast track however many years, and I'm here, So it's been as you say, it's been an incredible journey. But I feel though there's still so much more to come, and I'm just starting out in that journey. So I think success is about constant learning, constant development, constant growth, and you evolving as an individual.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Now everybody's dying to know, what was that book? What was that first book that you read?
It was quite random, actually. It was and one that you wouldn't necessarily expect to get inspiration from. Or if you were to get inspiration from it, you would deem it to be negative. So the book was Killing Pablo. So it was the story of Pablo Escobar. So this was before all narcos and everything else. And literally, it just told you, it just shared his life story, where his humble beginnings, grew up in extreme poverty. And at one point he was considered by Forbes to be the 5th richest man in the world. And it was like, it dawned on me how with limited education, with no resources, all right, be it through a negative means, the mindset still applies, the same principles still apply. And how did he manage to come from, just a normal street fund to accumulate that sort of level of success or that notoriety? And, if I said to myself, if he can do it in the occupation that he chose, I should surely be able to establish a degree of success given my intelligence.
Right.
And so that kind of kickstarted it, really.
Wow.
And then it's just been no looking back since then.
Wow, that's quite amazing. I'd like to say shout out to Thomas who's watching from Facebook. Shout out to everybody who's watching online. Tell us where you're watching from, and we'll give you a shout out as well. But yeah, Ryan, I just find that so fascinating. And this is the funny thing about life. We can kind of take inspiration from wherever, right? So you look at that story, there's something that resonates with you and it empowered you. So, I mean, what then do you do with that? So you've read that book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you then go home and think to yourself, right, okay, I'm just going to start a business now. I'm just going to be, really successful. What were the next steps from there in terms of your journey?
So for me, being in the health club, as I said, it just broadened my horizons massively. And what it did do is it enhanced my level of self-belief on what I was actually capable of. So within 6 months of starting in the health club, I think I became the front of house manager. Within 18 months, I was the operations manager. And I think for me, I had that degree of hustle in me already, but I just didn't have the opportunity to utilize it, if that makes sense. And I caught the attention of my area manager. I mean, had a really positive relationship. So within 2 years, I was acting club manager. And bearing in mind, I was only like 21, 22 now. So I had a huge degree of responsibility. I was the youngest operations manager within the region and the highest paid also. So I was kind of doing big things. And from that, I just had that level of self-belief. And theoretically, I was running a business operation. So from a revenue perspective, I think we was turning over somewhere in the region of like 8 million or thereabouts. And I was responsible for each of those employees. I didn't start the business, but I was running it. I still had to meet targets. I had to meet deadlines. I was responsible for the operational management, everything else. So from that, it was actually an ex-girlfriend. Her mum had a couple of shops and she didn't necessarily have business acumen. So I'm like, how can she achieve this level of success with no business acumen? Imagine if I had this opportunity, what I will be able to do. And so that really just made me understand that if I had the opportunity, or if I created the opportunity, then I too could be successful in whatever I chose to do with it, be it within business or running my own enterprise, whatever it may be. So from that, there was a few failed attempts at starting businesses. I started an online clothing label. In amongst that, on the pursuit of success, I made a few wrong decisions, and I took, I'd say, the wrong path for a number of years. But everything happens for a reason. And, I embrace my past. I embrace what some would perceive as mistakes. I embrace them as learning experiences to help me evolve and probably connect to a different demographic and understand where certain people are coming from. But I just think from that, there was an incident that happened that I said, you know what, I have to kind of take the plunge. It's like do or die, so to speak, when it comes to business, because continuing as I was only going to lead to one outcome. And from that, I just took the plunge, set up Gemini Parking Solutions, burnt my ships. So it's kind of do or die, sink or swim. And when you're kind of pushed into them situations where there can only be one outcome, you have to make it a success. You have to make a success of it. And so that's what I did. And in the beginning, it was a real struggle. It was very, very difficult. But within a period of time, I just had to level up. I had to become a better entrepreneur. I had to acquire new skills. I had to be a better communicator. I had to learn how to manage people, but slowly and surely over the years, I just grew to the point where I am now. So it's just that hands-on experience, setting the goals and having that determination to make a success of my life, really.
Mm. That's really, really intriguing. There are several things you said in there that kind of resonated with me. I'm guessing it will resonate a lot with the audience. Shout out to Uggs Beauty as well as watching from the Midlands, sunny Midlands. When you said that it's that mindset shift where you're in a job and you're seeing yourself differently to your role. So you're thinking about it as if you own the business, and actually you're working as a business owner, but you were employed by the company. I think that's so powerful. And the reason why it resonates with me is because I'm a believer in kind of dress for the job you want type of thing, right? So if you're in a workplace and you're working, you don't think about yourself in the space you are. You think about yourself where you could be, right? So I remember when I first started working in school, I started off as a teaching assistant, but I used to wear a suit to work. Now, I know what I faced in terms of the pressures from other people around, because not even some of the teachers wore suits, but I didn't see myself as this is my final destination. I thought, actually, I am a role model for these students. So in the job that I'm doing, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability in the best presentation that I can. So actually, I'm not limiting myself by the way I'm conducting myself, the way I speak, the way I act. And then I guess that kind of opens up doors for you, doesn't it? And as you said, the area manager took a liking to you. Those things don't happen by mistake, right? You must have been doing something for him to like you.
Yeah, I think he just recognized that hunger and that can-do attitude within me. And I remember there was, every lunchtime we'd have to check in and do a sales meeting, sales call, just to share where we are as a club. So there's like 7 or 8 other clubs within that. All the managers would be on that call. And I think this particular week he had set targets for us in regards to new leads and everything else. And whereas everybody else was saying they didn't achieve their targets, I was achieving, because by hook or by crook, I was making that shit happen. Yeah. And some of it's just my ingenuity. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't the traditional way of doing things, but I was getting it done. And so like he saw that and he admired it, because I think it probably I reflected some of that of what was in him. He saw that and recognized it. So yeah, I don't think it is coincidence, but I think a lot of my success as well, I don't know if, I believe in destiny to an extent, and sometimes we can create our own destiny. But for me, I think this was my path. Yeah, coming into this experience of life, I think I was always going to defy the odds and create a life and try and inspire others to, raise their. I have to be careful what I say here. Yeah, not say raise their standards, but change the idea of what is possible. Yeah, right. Change the perspective on life, on what
you called it level. You leveled up.
Leveled up, yeah. I had to level up. All my life I've been leveling up, and I will continue to level up, because what we create in life is in accordance to who we are. So if we want to achieve more, we have to become more. And so, as I said before, it's about constant growth, constant evolvement, and we then start to attract the experiences, attract the opportunities, attract the right people into our lives that will help us along our journey. So, if rather than sitting there and, being a victim and think you're where you are in life is where you are as a result of what's happened to you in life. No, where you are as a result of what you've done in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The actions that you've taken, the conversations that you have, the thoughts that you have, these all reflect your final results. So when I speak to a lot of people, generally the conversation or the feeling that I get is that they, and this is the problem, this is what I talk about in my upcoming book as well, is about regaining self-governance, self-control, knowing that you are the creator of your life, you are the creator of your circumstances. Okay, not all of us start in the same place. However, what you do on a daily basis, how you think, the effort that you put in, all have an effect on your end result and the results that you create in your life. So it's really just about firstly having this awareness, and then changing your habits in order for you to create different outcomes.
That's really good. And I think just that whole changing your perspective, it kind of feeds into knowing your season and knowing exactly what it is that you are in right now. Because I think there's an old analogy about the butterfly, right? So it starts off as a caterpillar. Now it's eating, it's growing, it's eating, it's growing, it's eating, it's growing. And all of a sudden, there's a situation you could look at as constriction. There's constraints, there's restrictions. It can't move anymore. It's not going anywhere anymore. And you might say it's not making progress anymore. But inside that chrysalis, there's a transformation taking place. And you have to push in that situation to break out and become that butterfly. But if people don't understand, and I think this really does kind of link into, in terms of mindset, not just how you perceive yourself, but how you deal with what people think of what you're doing and what you're going through.
That is the key, because a lot of what stops us or our limitations is based upon what we think others will think of us and the identity that we form of ourselves. And you mentioned the caterpillar and the butterfly. So I see it when the biggest transformation that occurred in my life is when I've shed old skin, if that makes sense, and I've moved into a new way of being. And even down to me starting to vlog, I've been battling with this idea of this notion for so long, and I've probably put it on the back burner because I wasn't comfortable speaking in a camera and just being judged or putting myself out there to be judged. But it comes to a point where you've got to make the decision. Are you going to allow the opinions of others to determine your level of success, or are you just going to become who it is that you're supposed to be? And a lot of the things that prevent us from moving forward in life are our own fears, and our fears about how we be perceived, how we be accepted by our peers. So you have to be able to have the strength to move beyond that and have the self-belief in yourself. And once you start stripping away these identities that you form, the ego or the persona that we create for ourselves, we start moving into alignment with who we truly are. And once we embrace that, then that's when the true magic of life happens.
That's brilliant. And we could really dwell on this for a little bit. I'm going to come back to aspects of this a little bit later, but I want you to kind of tell the audience a little bit about that transition. You mentioned it very quickly before, that you kind of went from the job and then you burned your ships and you went into business and you started Gemini. How did Gemini start? And for those people who are watching, maybe they've got a business idea and maybe they can relate to your story and they're thinking, do you know what? I want to do this. But maybe if you break down some of the steps that you took to actually do it, it could be helpful to them.
Yeah. The steps I took are generally the steps that I take now when I have an idea. At that point, I didn't want to get into parking. It's not something I've always dreamed about. I haven't been passionate about car parks or what have you. But at this time, my end goal was just to make money, just to achieve fortune and the things that come with it. And so I had this idea of setting up my own company. I didn't know what I was going to do. Then it just so happens that in the space of a week, 2 different friends that weren't actually connected mentioned the idea of car clamping and setting up a car clamping company. And as I said, I'm a spiritual man, so I took that as some form of universal message. I don't know if it
was or not, but I just went with it. And so I did a degree of research, started to understand the components that were necessary in order for me to form the company, start operating. And naively, I thought, wow, I can make millions out of this. I thought I'd make millions overnight. So I just took the plunge and made it happen. So it literally, in the beginning, was me operating at the back of a van. So I bought some clamps on eBay, bought a white van. I managed to secure my first site, which was a pub in Romford, and that was it. Literally, I just went out and I started operating. And I remember the first person I actually clamped was she was a little old lady. And if anyone knows me, I have such a soft spot for elderly people. And I clamped her, and my first instinct was to let her off. But then I spoke to my friend. He said, Ryan, this is the nature of your business. This is what you're here to do. You might as well pack it up if you're going to let everybody off that you clamp. And so I had the decision to make. And I think this was the pinnacle turning point. If I let her off, I don't think I would have made a success of Gemini, but I had to make that commitment. This is what I'm here to do. And, and unfortunately I had to, well, we could see it as playing the bad guy, but actually she wasn't supposed to part there. And so I just had to just follow through with it. And, I ended up taking her money and what have you. But from that, there was no looking back. This is what I was there to do. And from that experience, I'd made the commitment that I was going to make it a success.
I love that. Do you know what? It's tough, isn't it? Sometimes people look at business like it's easy and, you make money. And maybe they heard the clip at the start of how successful your business has been. And people would say, yes, I would love that. But actually to go through what you've had to go through to achieve that is a very different thing. Like you said, that decision, because I know you and I know that you're very, very much values focused. Like the whole of Gemini is based on values, a value system. But at the end of the day, like you said, business is business. Actually, there's a place in which actually you're either going to continue doing favors for people throughout the whole of your business life, or you're going to draw a line and say, actually, this is business.
No, it is that. And, as you mentioned in the beginning, it was very tough. And there was many times whereby I questioned what I was doing, not so much from a morality perspective, but just, am I doing the right thing? Is it even worth my time? So I remember the first few sites that I got on, I had a site in Twickenham. So I was based in Essex at these times. So I had to drive all in the A406. So I just got up 6 in the morning to go to A406, Park Lane, stuck in traffic. It used to take me an hour and a half to get to Twickenham, even longer at times. And sometimes I'd be sat there for a whole day and not generate any income, any money, not issue any tickets, clamp any cars. So, and it would be winter at this point. And I remember the van that I had wasn't very reliable. So I had to put the engine on for say about 10 minutes, then turn it off for about another half hour because I wasn't too sure if it would be able to maintain, for long periods of time. And this was my reality. And as you say, a lot of people they see the end result, but they don't necessarily see what the level of effort that went in the beginning when setting up the company. Now, if I was to set up a new company, I would bypass all of that because of the skills that I've acquired, the knowledge, experience, and expertise, etc. But in the beginning, when you're starting out, it's tough. It's not easy unless you're really fortunate. But generally speaking, you're going to have to go through a lot of hardship, a lot of difficulty. But through that hardship and difficulty is where the true learning comes. Yeah, where experience is priceless. And so, you just have to endure and you have to commit to it and you have to see it through to the end.
Yeah, most definitely. It's never easy, but you like you said, you're able to, if you were to start again, do things very differently. But that's based on what you've been through already.
100%.
Without that experience, you wouldn't have the knowledge.
I'll be lost. And don't get me wrong, there are resources and ways of working that can make life a lot easier. But when you're not necessarily coming from a business background, entrepreneurial background, you don't know where those resources are. You don't know where you know, who are the right people to speak to. So it does take years to accumulate this knowledge. And unfortunately, people like the idea of entrepreneurism, but very few are actually aware of the realities of it. And it looks good on paper, it sounds good. To be an entrepreneur is sexy now. Yeah, it wasn't once upon a time. And people gravitate, but it isn't for everybody. And you have to be mindful or conscious of where your skill sets lie, because not everyone is an entrepreneur. The same way, not everyone's a singer, not everyone's a dancer, not everyone's a teacher. Yeah, we all have a natural skill set. So it's understanding where yours apply, and then being able to incorporate that into you achieve. Because success doesn't have to be achieved through setting up your own business. It can be achieved by working through somebody else. But it's just being mindful of have a knowing of where your skills lie, and then following a path that is, I guess, congruent with those skills.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're kind of keeping up with your story now. So we know that you've come from that place where you young, son, on low ambition. Then you've got a job, and then your ambitions increase. You've read books. That's kind of increased the fire inside of you. And then you've started your own company. Burn the bridges. You're now an entrepreneur. You're developing yourself. How did you get to the place where you thought, okay, right, I'm going to start the Success Rebellion? How did that come about? Did you feel that, okay, this is enough in the business, let me kind of leave that to tick along, or what was the trigger point?
So it's twofold, really. So there was two reasons behind it. The first reason was I wanted, you are whatever Google says you are. And I wanted to build my personal brand. So over the past 2 years, I've featured in a number of business publications, entrepreneurial publications, just sharing my insights, my expertise, whatever you want to refer to it as. And the next stage of that, or the natural progression, was for me to create my book. And with that, it kind of solidified my position as an expert, and where I want to move to in the future. It would just, in a scenario whereby I'm speaking to investors or anybody else, I'm the real deal, if that makes sense. But secondly, I guess it got to a point where pupil becomes teacher. And after a period of time, so I've been in business for over 10, 11 years now, probably a bit longer than that. And so I felt I reached a point in my career where I was able to help others. I've built Gemini to a place whereby we're turning over millions in revenue. We've got a team of just under 30 or thereabouts, and as well as the Gemini stuff and doing stuff abroad and and whatnot. So it just felt as though, from the feedback that I was getting from people, especially my social channels, you're inspiring and everything else. I just felt it was just natural for me to be able to expand upon that and act as a mentor, let's just say, for others, trying to inspire them to achieve greatness and push them to become more. And so the title of my book is actually called The Success Rebellion. And so it just felt natural to create a brand around that to help people to become the best versions of themselves.
That's brilliant. And I love the website. I love it. For people who are watching, if you go to ryanjackson.org, you'll be able to see all of Ryan's content. And I just love it because, with this, the climate that we're living in now, you have a lot of people providing self-help, a lot of books out there to read, and it can be difficult for people to sift between the advisors and the mentors, those people who've actually lived it and done it, and those people who've just done a bit of research and want to talk about it. And I just love the fact, I know that you're genuine, you're grassroots, like you're a down to earth guy. You don't brag about what you've done, but you have experience in what you're doing. And I love the fact that is on offer for people to know about and just learn from. But I know that with everything that we do, there's always opposition, right? So
Mhm.
I want you to just share some stories with us about just like the obstacles that you've had to overcome in getting to where you are, both for the Gemini Parking Solutions as well as just the Success Rebellion. It can be internal, it can be external, because we know that sometimes sometimes the worst opposition is ourselves.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, within this theme of the successful mindset, I think it'll be worth just hearing how you've dealt with those different things as they've come along, so that we can hopefully learn from you.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest challenges is our own inner voice and our own belief systems. And even now, I still experience it. Moving on and doing Success Rebellion is really taking me out my comfort zone. One of the things recently is speaking on camera. I hate speaking on camera. The pressure of, especially being live, is
Right.
the pressure of it. It kind of at times it has overcome me. So it's a thing where I'm hesitant, but I know once I can break through that, the sky's the limit. Yeah, as true success is on the other side of fear, and that's where the gold lies. So for me, I know it's about that repetition, and until you get to a point where it just becomes natural, it just becomes every day. I remember when I first set up Gemini Parking Solutions, the thought of actually going in and speaking to a client on a one-to-one basis, believe it or not, I didn't have the confidence to do that in a business setup. When I was younger, I had a bit of a stammer, and so I think there's some psychological scars that kind of still with me from those early life experiences. But these are the things that we have to rise above, and they kind of shape our character as well. So you've got to have that determination. But I think a lot of it is that the belief systems that we hold, and I think my personal challenges are about me. What I think of myself, my self-identity. I spoke before about the transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly. A lot of it is psychological. What people think of us, and also what we think about ourselves. And I'll give an example now. When it comes to the project I'm working on at the moment, I know that I have to level up once again with my inner belief systems in order to attract or to secure the investment that I'm after. And so the investment is a huge project. I'm looking for over 10 million English pounds. And so with that, there has been times where I've questioned if I have the ability to do that. Why should someone trust me with that level of investment? But these are my own insecurities. So once you're aware of this inner dialogue or this inner voice, you have to do whatever you can to be able to disperse that and rise above it in order for you to, as I say, reach the pot of gold that's on the other side of that fear barrier.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that inner voice is something that we all kind of need to deal with and overcome. And I think it kind of goes with there's that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and it does get mentioned by quite a lot of entrepreneurs as kind of a base point when it comes to just the theme in itself, not even just necessarily the book in its entirety, but just that concept of knowing that this is a weak area, this is an area of struggle, this is something you may be doubting yourself in, but just going ahead and doing it anyway. Why not? Why not raise 10 million? Why not raise 20? Why not raise 50? Do you understand? I think you can do what you're focused on doing. Do you understand? When you set out to achieve, you will achieve it. And it's funny because we can look back at a certain time in history and say, okay, that I remember, people will commend you and say, wow, you did excellent with this, etc. But you remember those times where you had self-doubt and you wondered whether you could. But because you pushed past it, you're able to then look back and say, wow, that was amazing. But it really is one of those things. And kind of sticking to this theme of just kind of dealing with our own thoughts, etc.
Demons, yeah.
Yeah, this is it. Your ebook, the 12 disciplines of success. 12 disciplines of success. I really
Yeah.
like it. It's just
Mhm.
very short, succinct, on point, practical steps,
Mhm.
to just being, like you said, is literally exactly what it says on the tin, disciplines. And I'm always intrigued on how people respond to these types of things, right? So when people try to get into new habits, quite often we struggle, we fall down, we fall
Yeah.
short.
Mhm.
It's difficult to break into new habits. What do you find are like the major sticking points in terms of applying those? And I know that you haven't written those without living it. So how did you
Mhm.
come about actually applying those disciplines yourself in the first place?
Yeah, for me, they would have come about as a result. I don't know where each individual disciplines come from, but it's just been through the reading and the learning and the education that I've probably given myself over the past decade or so. But I think the fortunate thing for me was the fact that I didn't have to do it all at the same time. So it's been gradual processes, and it's just the realization that we are habitual in nature, and we are what we repeatedly do. So if we operate at a low level, then that's going to be reflective in our results. So for me, I understood the importance of developing a powerful morning routine and how that can be a competitive advantage and set the foundation for the rest of the day. So if you have a good day and you're continuously having good days, that then becomes a good week. And if you're continuously having good days and good weeks, they turn into good months. And it's just that knock on and that compound effect. And then before you know it, at the end of the year, yeah, things are amazing. You've exceeded beyond what you thought was possible. And so it is, sometimes you have to operate on a micro level in order to achieve big things on a macro level. And um, and that's where it really came from. And the book, the ebook itself, started as an article that I released, but then I got a lot of positive feedback from it. So I just wanted to be able to share it as just to really just plant a seed for people to understand that there's a direct correlation between what they do on a daily basis to that of their results and where they are in life.
That's brilliant. I think there's so much to be said for um, just your own voice in what you're doing. So you've experienced that,
Mm.
you've understood the struggles in developing that, and you put it out there for other people to learn from. Love it. Um, Again, in terms of mindset, sometimes people would stop and say, "Oh, there are plenty of other things out there. Other people have written about these topics, but it's still not you. Like you're unique. Your voice is unique, and you bring something that nobody else on this earth can bring."
Yeah, very true. Because it's like, look, Picasso, yeah, Van Gogh, they're all painters. But then when you clearly be able to distinguish their art form if you was to place both of their paintings on the wall. And so, it's your interpretation, and you may deliver it in a different way because you've got so many transformational speakers out there at the moment. But they all do things differently. As you have footballers, you have Messi, Ronaldo, but they all have their style. And people react differently to different individuals according to how they deliver it. They resonate with them according to where they're at in life. So one thing, the way I deliver something may not necessarily, someone may not resonate with. Whereas if you was to deliver it, they will connect with you in a different way. So I think, we all have a way of doing things that's unique to us. And from that, you would create a tribe picture and naturally gravitate to you according to where they're at in life.
Mm, yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So, what I want to know is, what is the most valuable lesson that you've learned on your journey so far? Because I know you're continually learning, you're continually reading, but what do you feel is like the most valuable? If there's more than one, you give us two or three.
I think there's quite a few wrapped up in the story, but I'm going to share it with
Sure.
you anyway. And it
Okay.
goes back to one of the first interviews that I did. And before the Success Rebellion, I was intending to release a book. And it relates back to the first book that I ever read regarding Pablo Escobar. And so I coined this idea of creating a self-development book that reflected some of the success principles that a lot of these narco leaders had. So it was aimed at a particular demographic who wouldn't necessarily accept or pick up a book on Tony Robbins or just couldn't relate. And so with that, I had to get first-hand accounts really of who Pablo Escobar was, who he was as an individual, who he was as a father, what made him tick, what principles did he apply. So irrespective in the vocation or occupation that you're in, the same universal principles apply. Yeah, this is fact. And so I wanted to reach out to someone that was close to him. So initially, after having the idea, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and reach out to his brother, because a friend of mine, he recently visited Colombia and told me that he went on a tour at his brother's house. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to find out where he went on tour and reach out to the brother. I didn't manage to get through to the brother, but I got through to his nephew. So there was a bit of communication back and forth, but it kind of died out. And then a few weeks later, I identified that his son was living in Argentina. And so his son, his birth name is Juan Escobar, but it now goes under the name of Mariquina Escobar. And so from that, I said, all right, how am I going to get in contact with him now? So, I like to tell people the way that I got the connection, because my brother's ex-wife is Colombian. So to create that air of mystique and whatever, I said, she organized that. But in fact, I just found these details on Facebook and I just messaged him. And I didn't hear anything back from him for a couple of weeks. But then about 4 weeks later, I received a message back. And I said, look, can we sort something out? And at this time, funny enough, he was under investigation. Both him and his mother were under investigation from the Argentinian authorities for money laundering. It was proved that they was innocent, but I consider that as to be divine timing. There is no such thing as coincidence. So at a time whereby I needed to interview him, he was in a position whereby his banks were frozen, and so he needed money. So he was willing to accept my offer for the interview. So we agreed to it. We sent a few emails back and forth, and then I made the decision to fly to Buenos Aires on my own to go and interview him. And at this time, leading up to it, my mum, she was questioning what I was doing. It's dangerous. Why are you going on your own? You shouldn't be going. My missus exactly the same. And even a few friends of mine were questioning what I was doing and say, like, these Colombians, you got to be careful. Like, this is what they do. They suck you in and boom, boom, boom. So it's like they thought I was going to get kidnapped or something. But I think one of the gifts that I've been granted with is the gift of sight, being able to read people energetically, being able to, without even actually meeting them, I can kind of get a feeling of who they are as an individual. And for me, I've already done my assessment, and I knew that it would be fine, and we'll have a great experience. But I still had these people around me that were making me question whether I was doing the right thing or not. And so, irrespective of that, I went to Buenos Aires and I interviewed him, and it was one of the most amazing experiences that I had. Be able to hear firsthand his experiences as young, growing up with his dad, and him sharing the stories of his dad with me was priceless. And we had a couple of drinks, and we was there for a good 2.5 hours and what have you. And it was one of the most amazing experiences because it just stemmed from an idea, just a thought, like any other. However, the difference is that I followed that thought through and made it happen, and I brought it into manifestation. And so, irrespective of the things that are going, or the hearsay of others and the fears of others, I didn't allow them to project their fears upon me. And I guess I stayed true to my heart and just and followed my own inner guidance system. And I suppose this is the message that I'm sharing, is that there's going to be a lot of people around you that are going to be questioning what your motives, questioning what you're doing, projecting their concerns, projecting their limitations, and projecting their fears. but sometimes you just got to be true to who you are. Listen to your own inner voice. Listen to your own inner guidance systems to take you where it is that you want to be.
Most definitely. You know, when it comes to just following through on ideas, I think this is probably, I don't know if it's a secret or not, but it's the biggest key to success. I feel following through on ideas. And sometimes what happens is people in their mindset, they will limit themselves and say, "Oh, this idea is too big. This idea is it's not going to work," and they start presuming negatively. So you reached out to someone. Somebody else may reach out to them and think, "Oh, they're probably not going to get back to me. Oh, it's not going to happen." And actually, you reached out to someone from an idea. They've responded, presented an opportunity, and you've gone through and you've, had the interview of your life, right?
Yeah, no, it's powerful. And the other opportunities that came out of that were pretty remarkable too. So from that, he introduced me, well, coming back, we shared a couple of emails and what have you, sent me photos that I was going to use to publish within the book. And so, I've got one aspect of that life, but then I don't know if for those that are maybe familiar with the whole Pablo story, then he had the opposing cartel, the Cali cartel. And so, I just didn't want to get one viewpoint because they achieved, like, after Pablo fell, they then became that power. And so I apologize. And so I thought, okay, I need to reach out to someone within the Cali cartel. So actually, he introduced me to William Rodriguez, who at one point headed up the Cali cartel when his father and uncle went to prison. His story is pretty remarkable as well. He was heading up for however many years. He got shot 8 times, survived, was on the run for 5 years. Then he handed himself in, did 5 years in the US prison, and now he's living in Miami. And so, I started to form a relationship with him, went over to Miami, interviewed him also. And now we speak even now because I'm trying to help him with one of his book projects. So a lot of opportunities came about from this, but I know from this, it's not the end of it, that we are going to work with one another because their message now is pretty powerful because they're about peace. Once upon a time, their 2 families were warring, but now they've kind of reconciled their differences and they travel around, South America, just championing peace and, being a positive influence. If they can overcome their indifferences, then there's no excuse for anybody else. And so I don't know how I fit into this mix yet, but I know that something's going to come about from this connection. And so, whether it be a year, whether it be 2 years or whenever it be, because I think their message would really be powerful here in the UK, especially with a lot of the gang culture that's current. So yeah, it's all part of the journey. But I think really just being able to follow through on that we call them ideas sometimes, but I like to call them like divine inspiration. You get those eureka moments. So some people might have it and just dismiss it and never take action. But then there's others that hold that, embrace it, and then follow through with it. And those are the ones that go on to achieve big things. So, that's the lesson that we taught. When you get an idea, just follow, because you don't know where that's going to take you.
I know where it's going to go.
And it can literally transform your life.
Just opens up a door and you flow with it. Really amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so people, if you're watching, please type your questions in the comments. If you have a question for Ryan, type them into the comment section and I'll do my best to pose them just before we close out. But final question from me. And I think partially, I think you've answered it in that sense in terms of most valuable lesson from the people that you've interviewed. But, in terms of if you were to speak to the younger Ryan, having learned all the things that you've learned now, from all the people that you've learned them from, all the situations that you've been in, what would you say to young Ryan who's about to start off in his business journey?
Find a mentor. Yeah, someone who's in a position of where you want to be and can provide you guidance of how to replicate that success. As I said before, I think it was necessary for me to go through that experience alone to fully equip me with the hand-on experience where I can then help others. But generally, I know if I would have had someone, in the wings or someone in the camp who had that had already walked that path, it would definitely have fast tracked my success by many, many, many years. So so I think that's probably the one key thing that I recommend to anybody is to establish a mentor type relationship, someone who's already where you want to be, who displays the values that you see within yourself and can provide value to your journey. And just that experience is literally priceless, and kind of why I have formed the Success Rebellion, to be able to try and give back to others and help them in their pursuit of happiness or their pursuit of success. So I'd say that that's the one key bit of advice that I would give to anybody who's wanted to not necessarily start out in business, as I say, but who wants to achieve more from life. Yeah, just to seek that mentor. Paramount. It's key.
Brilliant. And it's something that we do repeat a lot in the honing block and in the Forex 101 session as well. You kind of have to link yourself with that person, as you said, who is already doing it, that person who is already living what it is you're trying to achieve. And it's just a case of imitation, isn't it? It's the imitation game.
Cause and effect, yeah. Success leaves clues. And no, you don't necessarily have to have a direct one-to-one relationship. You can learn. There's so many entrepreneurs out there now who've shared much of their experiences within books, or a lot of people are vlogging now, and releasing content in that way. You've got Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, who's blogging, vlogging daily and what have you. So, they're sharing these golden nuggets on a daily basis. But, if you want that direct influence, that pinnacle advice where you can pick up the phone at any time and reach out to someone, then you have to develop a mentor relationship. And even if that means you have to pay for it, because that's going to be the best investment that you can make.
Okay, so that there answers a question here we've had from the audience. Paul Morris is asking, should you have to pay for a mentor?
And yes, 100%, because I wouldn't consider it to be it's an investment. Yeah, you would pay for marketing, you would pay for business development. Yeah, why would you not pay for mentorship? If they can take your business, make your business grow twice as much in half the time, why would you not do that? So I'd say pay for it. I've even interviews that I've had to pay for. This is it. This is the world that we live in. It's that exchange of value, because people can be very busy, and why should they, especially if you haven't got a relationship with them beforehand, why should they give you their attention? So there has to be that exchanging value. So if you can pay them for their time, then why not? So you got many. I wouldn't necessarily refer to them as mentors. You've got like executive coaches who have operated at exec level on boards and what have you, and they charge for their time as ex directs and whatever else. So if you've got someone who's an entrepreneur and can give you or share just a snippet of their knowledge or their expertise, then literally just pay for it. Yeah, just factor it in within your business plan, because I assure you it would be the best investment you make.
This is it. We're going to have to wrap up. We're running out of time, but I'll just put one more comment here. We've got not quite a question, but a comment saying that from Uggs Beauty saying, I admire the no limitation follow through idea mindset. It's essential. Otherwise, you won't know the end result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. But you never know the end result. You never know where you can have all the plans in the world. You can have all the forecasts, but sometimes, as we're experiencing now, you don't know what's going to happen in life. So at the same time, you have to be adaptable and be open to a new opportunity. And it's going back to the conversation that we was having before we went live, LC, that COVID-19, the lockdown, for many people, especially small to medium business owners, it's affected them massively. And a lot of them are feeling victimized, basically, and feel that they've suffered greatly. And I view things very differently, because on the one hand, okay, we've experienced a huge loss of revenue across our portfolio, and our revenues are down 60-70%, and they're not likely to get back to a sense of normality for a couple more months. But at the same time, the lesson that I've learned through this experience of being priceless is forced me to reevaluate how we operate as a business. It's forced us to really take advantage of the digital age that's been ushered in as a result of people being on lockdown. And so that opportunity alone is priceless for us, because we can now look at taking our business global. Why do we have to be in the building? Why do we have to have a traditional bricks and mortar business? The world is our oyster now. The digital age has opened us up to so many different other locations. And so I, for one, I'm taking advantage of that. So, and it's only come about literally in the past 2 weeks where I've been questioning things. And so with me looking to do a project in Southeast Asia, why are we not focusing on expanding our business in Southeast Asia? Why are we not digitalizing some of our services and taking them out to these developing markets? So that's what I'm in the process of doing at the moment, utilizing or taking advantage of what some would see as a negative experience, and look at what that's actually taught me, what I need to do to be able to lever up and embrace the opportunities that are around us. And the thing about it, there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese. It's a really short book, but really powerful, and it talks about change. And change is always inevitable. And unless you're open to change and willing to change, you're likely to get left behind and become prehistoric. And we've seen it with many industries, many sectors. Taxis for one. Yeah, when Uber came in, yeah, they was just left there stagnant and just complaining about life. But you can't. You have to embrace. You have to adapt. You have to move with the times. And if you don't, you're going to become prehistoric. And we know what happened with the dinosaurs. So if you don't want to be that person, you have to look at what life is teaching you. You have to look at what every experience you're going through is teaching you, and just ensure that you apply the learning outcomes from that experience. Very, very important.
Definitely. I want to close out with one final question just for myself. Just picking up on what you just said, because change is inevitable, and adapting to change is very important. But what I've noticed is generally people don't like change, right? And people can be very resistant to change. What do people do when they're in a position they know very well that they need to change? They haven't got the wherewithal to change. So either they've got no energy, they feel like they've changed too much, or they feel like they're in a place where they just don't feel like it. What would you advise people that find themselves in that position? Because people might assume that's a certain type of person, but I think that it could be any one of us.
It's everybody generally. Yeah. And I think it generally stems from fear of the unknown. Yeah. We're, as I said, we're habitual in nature. We like our routines. There's comfort within that. So at the point where things get thrown up in the air, it becomes uncomfortable. Yeah, we know there's that level of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. Life isn't predictable, but life isn't supposed to be predictable. It's just the model of life that we've been sold is predictable. I.e., you go to work on a Monday to Friday, then you got the weekends, go back to work Monday. It's that monotony. We've kind of been programmed to accept that as being life. But life is about excitement. Life is about not knowing what's happening tomorrow, and stop trying to control these situations. So when you live in the true magic of life, you're not trying to dictate the future. You're allowing the future. And when you start moving, I haven't moved there yet. I'm trying to, yeah. But when you start to embrace that philosophy, real magic in life happens. And once you tap into the flow of that universal life energy, that's when the magic happens. But for those that are finding it difficult, it's reflective of their inner fears and their inner beliefs. So there might be some inner work that needs to be done to change their thinking, their thought processes. So a powerful form of, I don't like to use the word therapy, so a powerful form of transformation, like NLP techniques, and investing. For me, it's like if you want to go to the gym, if you want to develop your physical attributes, you would invest in training, you would invest in a personal trainer. So as an entrepreneur, if you want to, or anyone who's seeking success, you too have to invest in the cultivation of the right mental workouts, the right mental ways of thinking, and the different sort of coaches that can help you with that. So one of these coaches, I would say, is an NLP coach, can just start to make you more self-aware of the inner dialogues that are holding you back and give you the tools in order for you to move forward. So that's probably something to look towards, like NLP coaching or something similar.
Okay, thank you. And for those people who aren't sure, NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So have a look at that. Do some research if you're watching and not too sure. Ryan.
And I've actually got a really powerful video on my YouTube. So with the founder of NLP, Richard Bandler. So I released it last week. So it's about 25 minutes, but I will give you a greater understanding of what NLP is, and by adopting the philosophy that it teaches, how powerful it can actually be. So, if you can, check it out, The Success Rebellion on YouTube.
Ryan, thank you so much. We have to say goodbye, but we really appreciate everything that you've shared tonight. We've got some appreciation from Paul Morris.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And we've got Uggs Beauty there saying love it. So, and we've had so many comments tonight. I haven't caught up with all of them, so apologies if I've missed any of your comments tonight. But Ryan, thank you so much. I'm going to remove you from the stream. Everybody say goodbye to Ryan.
Right. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers, OC. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, guys, that has been the show tonight. The successful mindset. I hope you have found tonight's show valuable. I hope you've learned something. I hope that you are feeling more able to kind of overcome the mental, psychological barriers to you achieving success and taking the steps towards the goals that you're trying to achieve. Guys, I think the key is just do it. You're thinking about an idea, you're thinking about doing something, just do it. Get out there and do it, okay? No more excuses. It is time now. Okay, guys, let's close off the show. I would like to say, first of all, congratulations to last week's competition winner, Billy Bob from Los Angeles, who won the £20 Amazon gift voucher last week. If you'd like to enter the competition for this week, visit Edgeway Edu/competitions. And you can also find us on social media and see the competition there. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed the show. Have yourselves a wonderful week. Enjoy yourselves. If you are following Forex 101 series, it is competition time this Thursday. So all the things that we've learned from series 1 all the way to episode 10, we're going to be doing a live quiz, and there are going to be prizes up for grabs. So join us on Thursday for Forex 101. Guys, take care. Have yourselves a blessed week. Take care and God bless. Good night.